Okay, well, the Jelly math giant has kind of ditched me on this one, but we'll go through the five W's anyway. Okay, so what are the five W's in a statistical problem? Okay, well, they're just like English class. So those of you who are big English people, this is your section. All right, the five W's of statistics: who, what, where, when, why, and then of course how. Always, always the random H. So it's really the five W's and H, but that's what we're gonna go with. Okay, so if we look back at our Titanic example, all right, so we want to know what happened on the Titanic at 11:40 on the night of April 14th, 1912. Of course, Frederick Fleet's cry of iceberg and the three accompanying pulls of the crow's nest signaled the beginning of a nightmare that has become legend. By 12:15 a.m., the Titanic, though unsinkable, had sunk, leaving more than 1,500 passengers and her crew members on board to meet their icy fate. Okay, and those of you who really want to watch the Titanic sink, there's this cool YouTube video that you can all go and watch at your leisure. You know, pretty much we got it. The guy says, you know, iceberg.
Pick up, you bastard! Is there anyone there? Yes. Iceberg, run ahead! Iceberg,
All right, and then yeah, everyone panics, and it goes, and eventually, you gotta see it hit, of course, and then all the water comes in, and eventually the ship sinks. So you can watch that on your own time. All right, moving on though to more math-related questions. We want to know what the five W's of this problem are. Okay, so starting with the who. All right, who are of course the people on the Titanic? Those are who died. Okay, what? Well, what are the categories? So the survival status, whether they lived or died, the age, the sex, male or female, and then of course the ticket class, whether they're first, second, third, or when a member of the crew. When? April 14th, 1912. If you want to be super specific, you can include the time, but it's generally not necessary. Okay, where? Sank in the North Atlantic. How? It was through a variety of sources and internet sites. And of course, why would be the historical interest. Okay, well, usually your why is your most important part. Here we kind of, just for our fun. Okay, so let's look at an actual example from your textbook. Okay, so this is problem number 10 in chapter 3. So it's a study from the U.S. Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the ATF, conducted in the year 2000. Surveyed 1,530 investigations by the ATF on illegal gun trafficking from 1996 to December of 1998. Study reports what portions of the cases were the result of each of 5 gun trafficking violations. So whether it was a straw purchase, an unlicensed seller, a gun show, flea market, stolen from a federally licensed dealer, or stolen from a residency. So let's go back and look at it. Okay, so I'll kind of be switching back and forth here. All right, so who? Well, who of course was the ATF, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearm Company. Okay, what? Okay, well, these were our categories. So, you know, it was a straw purchase, it's a gun dealer, you know, unlicensed dealer. Oops, I'm sorry. Moving on. All right, hang on. Try not to hit the button next time. Okay, so of course our what was ATF. Our who was straw purchase, unlicensed seller, gun show, legal owner, and of course a burglary. You know, stolen from someone's home. And I probably just butchered the spelling of burglary. Okay, when? Was from July of 96 to December of 98. It's not when the article was made. It was the year that the study was founded. So you got to be careful with that. Okay, where? It was all over the United States. How? Well, we got that from the USA today. Here's when you can cite the actual edition that it was. I'm not going to do that at the moment, but you can definitely do that if you were doing a real report. Okay, and then why? We want to know the major cause of gun trafficking. Oops, if I can spell trafficking. Okay, major cause of gun trafficking. All right, sorry for the sloppy handwriting. I'm still getting used to the pad. All right, so for you, what you guys want to do, since it's pretty self-explanatory, you guys already know what the 5 W's are. All right, we're going to work on our journal assignment for next class. Okay, I want you to continue with problem 10 on page 37. So we already kind of went through the who, what, where, when, and why. So kind of going through from that, I want you to then start figuring out what those what you notice about the percentages and what does that probably mean. And then connecting from last unit class, I want you to make a bar chart to display these results and make sure you label it carefully. Okay? And then write a brief report about what they say about legal gun trafficking. This is where you're going to need the 5 W's and the how. Okay? So make sure you do that, and it'll be due next class.